Sometimes what feels like the greatest setback is the very doorway to your divine upgrade, and the door that closed, slammed, or quietly faded away did not fail you. It freed you, for you are not being punished when things fall apart. You are being positioned. You are being moved out of a plan that was too small, too slow, too rigid for the destiny that was written for your name long before your fears ever spoke. And that is what I call a divine detour, a redirection so sacred that at first it feels like devastation, but in truth, it's deliverance. Because closed doors are not closed opportunities, they are corrected assignments, not endings but edited beginnings. Not failures but the folding back of a map that leads to somewhere better, bigger, bolder than your mind could map. And if you trust the law of the divine detour, you will stop seeing interruption as interference and start seeing it as intelligence, the divine intelligence moving things, shifting things, preparing things behind the curtain of your visible life. And when you begin to recognize this sacred choreography, you stop asking, why me? And you start declaring, thank you. For when the wrong door closes, the right one begins to stir open, often not immediately, often not in the timing your ego would prefer, but always perfectly, always precisely, and always lovingly. Because the universe is not working against you. It is working for you, and it cannot misplace what belongs to you, and it cannot lose what is divinely assigned, and it cannot forget what has been spiritually promised. For the Divine Detour Law states that nothing that truly belongs to you will leave your life without being replaced by something greater. And nothing that falls away from you was ever meant to grow you, and anything that is withheld is only paused, so that what is more aligned can take its place. And yes, it will test you, it will stretch you, it will make you question everything you thought was secure, but that is the loop, the holy loop that returns you to yourself. Because when the plan breaks down, the soul stands up, and when the contract falls through, the calling becomes clearer, and when the person exits your life, the peace finally enters, and you begin to realize that your suffering was not in the door that closed. It was in your clinging to a doorway that was never meant to remain open. And now you are free, not just free from the wrong direction but free to walk toward what is truly yours. And the more you surrender, the more you see it, the more you let go, the more you receive, the more you thank the closed door, the more your hands are open for what comes next. And what comes next is not a repeat, not a rerun, not a lesser version of what you lost, but a divine design, something tailor-made, something stamped with your spiritual fingerprint, something so holy it required the disappointment to prepare you, to mature you, to cleanse you of the urgency that was never from God. For this law is not about speed, it's about alignment, and alignment never arrives in chaos, it arrives in clarity, in simplicity, in grace. And that's how you know it's real. That's how you know you're not chasing anymore, you're not forcing anymore. You're not shrinking to fit into a door that was too narrow for your expansion. And now you walk different, now you speak different, now you choose different, because you understand the rhythm of divine detours, and you're no longer angry when plans fall apart. You're curious about what's coming, curious about what spirit is shaping behind the scenes, curious about who you're becoming in the waiting, and that curiosity leads to calm, and calm leads to trust, and trust opens doors that panic never could. And maybe you were taught to hustle, to panic, to beg your way through life's doors. But now you are learning to pause, to praise, to trust that even the slammed door had sacred timing. And the one that is meant for you is being carved with your name on it, not in desperation but in destiny. And it's not that you failed to force the old door open. It's that the old door could never lead to the future you asked for in prayer. And when you remember that, you return to the knowing, the loop, the awareness that what leaves you cannot harm you, and what is yours cannot miss you, and that is not hope. That is law, and the law never lies, and the law never forgets, and the law never delays without delivering something even better. And so you look back and you say, thank God that door closed. And you mean it, and you feel it, and you live it, because the detour led you here. Not to where you planned, but to where you belong. You see, the moment you stop mourning what left and start expecting what's next, you begin to activate the true power of Divine Detour Law. Because every delay carries a message, every disappointment holds a whisper, every redirection is a coded invitation into something you didn't know you were ready for. And sometimes that readiness looks like loss, sometimes it feels like isolation, sometimes it comes wrapped in confusion. But don't mistake discomfort for denial. It's preparation, and preparation rarely looks pretty. Preparation is silent, private, invisible, and often misunderstood. But it is sacred, And once you understand that the closed door isn't the end of the story, but a comma in the sentence of your becoming, you stop trying to rewrite the past and start partnering with the present. You begin to ask different questions. Not why did this happen, but what am I being prepared for? What did I lose? But what is making space to enter? And those questions pull you back into alignment with the truth that the universe is not reactive. The universe is not guessing. The universe is precise, intentional, and always in motion on your behalf, even when your human eyes can't see it. Especially when your human plans fall apart. And that's where faith becomes sight. That's where trust becomes the bridge between what closed and what's coming. And the beauty of the divine detour is that it doesn't just lead you to something better. It grows you into someone wiser, and that growth is often hidden in the hallway. The hallway between what ended and what's next, that space where you're tempted to doubt, to panic, to try to reopen the wrong door with old energy. But hear me clearly, if it closed for your good. If it fell apart to rebuild you stronger. If it was removed, it was not your ruin. It was your refinement. And you will thank God for the silence that taught you how to hear your intuition again. You will thank God for the waiting that taught you how to trust timing. And you will thank God for every reroute, because each one revealed your resilience. And while the world may say you were rejected, heaven knows you were redirected. And there's a vast difference between the two, because rejection implies you were not chosen, but redirection reveals you were chosen for something greater. And that is the spiritual distinction you must remember when the door closes, because it will, and it should, and it must. Not to stop you but to spare you from the smallness that would have stunted your soul. And when you surrender to that law, you stop trying to make sense in the moment and instead begin to praise before the proof. Because that's what alignment looks like. That's what mastery looks like. It's the quiet, grounded confidence that says, even when I don't see it, I know it's for me. It's the spiritual vision that sees past the detour and into the divine destination, and even if you can't name what's ahead, even if it hasn't arrived yet, even if it's still wrapped in mystery, you can begin to walk as if the blessing has already been assigned, because it has. And the more you align your thoughts with that truth, the faster the path reveals itself. Not because you earned it, not because you forced it, but because you finally got out of your own way and allowed Spirit to lead. And Spirit never leads you into lack. Spirit leads you into wholeness, into truth, into joy that does not depend on outcomes. And that's the deeper shift the detour brings. It breaks your addiction to control. It heals your obsession with knowing. And it brings you back to the center, where peace lives not in what you hold but in what you trust. And that trust becomes your magnet, your anchor, your new momentum. Because while the world will chase and grasp and fearfully cling you, the aligned you, the awakened you, will float, not in passivity but in spiritual confidence. Because you understand the law, you live in the loop, you no longer see the end as an end, but as a sacred curve in the spiral of expansion. And that expansion is happening now. Not when you have proof, not when the new job arrives, not when the relationship is restored. But now, because your shift in perspective is the proof. Your surrender is the sign. And your calm is the confirmation that the detour is working, even when you don't know where it leads. Because when you walk with Spirit, destination is secondary. Alignment is everything, and once you hold that as your compass, no closed door can shake you, no delay can distract you, no disappointment can define you, because you've stepped out of fear into flow, out of force and into favor, out of hustle and into harmony. And from that place, even your posture changes. You stand taller not because of pride, but because of purpose. You speak gentler not because you're weaker, but because you're sure. And you listen deeper not because you're uncertain, but because you've finally tuned into the divine frequency that is always guiding, always speaking, always adjusting your course. And when that guidance redirects you, even when it interrupts your plans, even when it takes away what you thought you wanted, you no longer fight it, you thank it, you bless it, you cooperate with it. Because you know what's coming is better than what was lost, and not just better in form but better in fit. It fits your spirit, it fits your evolution, it fits the healed version of you that you're becoming, and every detour shapes that version, refines that version, blesses that version. So the next time a door closes, don't panic, don't shrink, don't spiral, pause, praise, and prepare, because that door was not the destination, it was the distraction. And now the true path is opening, not in front of you, but within you. And when you truly understand the sacredness of divine detours, You begin to see that not a single no was wasted, not a single delay was in vain, not a single closed door was ever random, because the infinite mind that governs all life does not operate in chaos. It operates in order, divine order. And even when that order looks like disorder to your human eyes, it is never confusion in the realm of spirit. And what feels like being blocked is often being built. What feels like being denied is actually being directed. And what feels like a silence from heaven is often the sound of something glorious being prepared on your behalf. Something so aligned, so customized, so intricately woven into your soul's assignment that it had to come through the back door of your life, not the front you were watching. Because spirit doesn't just give you what you want. It gives you what matches your vibration. And if your vibration hasn't caught up to your vision yet, then the detour becomes your classroom, the hallway becomes your altar, and the pause becomes your purification. And while the ego may scream, "This isn't what I asked for," the soul will whisper, "This is exactly what you needed." Because Divine Detour Law doesn't care about your schedule. It's working on your soul. And if you want isn't aligned with who you're becoming, it won't be delivered, not because you're unworthy, but because you're loved too deeply to be given something that would delay your highest self. And once you grasp that, you stop asking for shortcuts and asking for sanctified steps. You stop begging for fast answers and start breathing into the slow miracles. Because the detour isn't a punishment. It's a portal, it's not rejection. It's redirection. And every moment that didn't go your way was heaven's way of reshaping your heart, so it could hold the weight of what's next. And when you walk in alignment with that understanding, the fear that once haunted you begins to fall away. And you walk not as someone scrambling to make life happen, but as someone who trusts that life is happening for you, through around you. Even when you don't see it, even when all you have is a closed door and a silent season, because silence is never absence in the language of spirit. It's saturation, it's deep work, it's foundation work, and the detour often hides its greatest gifts in the dry places, in the confused places, in the spaces where it feels like nothing is moving. But that's where the roots are growing, that's where the inner clarity is being formed, that's where the shift is becoming permanent. And so you no longer rush to escape the waiting, you no longer curse the closed door. You no longer try to kick your way through what has clearly been sealed by the hand of grace. Because now you understand that some doors are closed to keep you safe from timelines that would have broken you, and some are closed because you have outgrown them. And some are closed because the version of you who would have walked through that door is no longer aligned with the version of you that's coming, and the blessing is not in going back. It's in growing forward, and that growth can't be rushed, it can't be faked, and it can't be bypassed, but it can be trusted. And when you trust it, you walk in peace, you speak in peace, you think in peace, and that peace becomes your new evidence, because it tells the world, I may not see the door yet, but I trust the architect who is building it. I trust the rhythm that is carrying me. I trust the path that is unfolding. Even if it doesn't make logical sense, because spiritual sense always transcends logic, always challenges timelines, always rewrites plans, and that's how you know it's real. Because it humbles you, it grounds you, and it invites you into deeper levels of release. And release is the real abundance. Release is the real breakthrough. Release is the real miracle. And the more you release, the more room you make for what is actually yours. Not what your ego wanted, but what your spirit was designed to hold. And that holding happens gently, softly, in stillness, in surrender. And the more you flow with that, the more the right doors begin to respond, not by force but by frequency. Not because you earned them through performance, but because you aligned with them through presence. And that presence is your proof that you're no longer operating from fear, but from knowing that what's meant for you isn't behind you, it's before you. Knowing that closed doors don't mean your life is off track. They mean your life is being fine-tuned, elevated, recalibrated. And now you get to rise into the version of you that doesn't panic at the pause, doesn't spiral at the silence, doesn't settle for the old just because it's familiar, but instead waits with peace, speaks with power, walks with patience, and praises even before the new door appears, because you know the law, and the law does not fail. The truth is, most people never learn to celebrate the closed door. They fear it, they resent it, they see it as evidence that something has gone terribly wrong. But to the one who walks in spiritual law, the closed door is not a mistake, it is a message from the divine that something more aligned, more refined, more powerful is waiting in the wings. And just like an actor is not meant to perform in every scene, you are not meant to walk through every door. Because some doors are scripted for your growth and others are scripted for your protection, and both are holy, both are sacred, and both serve the ultimate unfolding of your soul's divine design. And when you start to trust that design, you begin to operate in a new frequency, a frequency that says, I no longer chase what closes, I bless it. A frequency that no longer clings to the familiar out of fear but steps into the unfamiliar with faith. Because now you've seen enough to know that the door that doesn't open is not a curse. It's a corridor to something better. And sometimes that something better doesn't arrive right away. Sometimes it takes its time. Sometimes it stretches you in the waiting. But that stretching is not suffering. It's strengthening. Because the detour is not just rerouting your plans, it's reshaping your capacity to carry the blessing. And the bigger the blessing, the deeper the stretching, the higher the calling, the more sacred the silence between seasons, and if you can hold stillness there, not panic, not grasp, not beg, but hold stillness and faith, then you begin to embody the knowing, the inner stability that says, even this is divine, even this delay, even this heartbreak, even this reroute, and that's when you become dangerous to the illusion of fear, because now you are rooted, now you are unshaken. Now you walk through life not as a victim of closed doors but as a student of divine timing. And you start to realize that you were never actually rejected. You were redirected into rooms where you didn't have to knock to be welcomed. Into paths that didn't require you to shrink to fit in. Into blessings that didn't need you to prove your worth, because they already matched your vibration. And that is the power of the divine detour. It reveals who you were never meant to be so that you can become who you truly are. And in that becoming, you begin to glow different, move different, attract different, because you are no longer magnetizing from fear, but from fullness, not from lack, but from alignment. And alignment is the new success, not hustle, not performance, not perfection, but presence, deep, sacred, surrendered presence. And it is that presence that makes you magnetic to miracles, not because you begged for them, but because you matched their energy. And miracles always respond to match, not to need. And if you're still feeling lost, if you're still wondering why that door closed, why that person walked away, why the plan unraveled, I want you to hear this. It didn't fall apart to destroy you. It fell apart to direct you. And if you could see what's ahead, you'd be on your knees right now thanking God for every no that looked like rejection but was actually your greatest redirection. And maybe you can't see it yet. Maybe it's still foggy, still forming, still unfolding. That's okay, because faith doesn't require full sight. It only requires the willingness to trust what your spirit knows even when your eyes don't. And your spirit knows, it always knows, that when the door closes, the soul opens. And that's when the real magic begins, not in the place you lost, but in the space you opened, not in the plan that failed, but in the peace you found after letting go. And this is your new loop now, the spiritual cycle you live in, the rhythm that replaces striving with serenity, that replaces fear with favor, that replaces egoic ambition with divine arrangement. Because you no longer live by the external clock of this world. You live by the sacred calendar of spirit, and spirit is never late, spirit is never confused, spirit is never guessing. It's always guiding, always orchestrating, always fine-tuning every moment for your highest growth, your deepest healing, and your most aligned path. And the more you live from that truth, the more you walk into rooms prepared just for you, the more you receive calls you didn't expect, the more doors swing open without you having to knock. Because favor flows where force once lived, and now you are no longer forcing anything. You are flowing, and in that flow you find rest, in that rest you find revelation, and in that revelation you find your real power. The power that doesn't need to chase, because it already trusts that what is meant will find you, always. And now you are no longer looking for proof in the physical world. You are looking for peace in your spirit, and that peace is the highest sign you're on the right path. That peace is the compass that leads you forward, even when the way is unclear, even when the map disappears, even when the silence stretches longer than you hoped. Because peace is not passive, it's powerful, and every time you choose it, you honor the law, and the law always rewards alignment, always responds to surrender, always multiplies trust. And so I ask you now, not to chase another door, not to mourn another plan, but to pause, to breathe, to look around and say, I trust the closed door. And I trust the one who closed it. Because you do not have to understand the detour to honor it. You do not have to see the next step to take it. You do not have to feel ready to be led. You only have to believe that no matter what it looks like now, you are not being blocked, you are being blessed. Now let me remind you, the door that closed was never yours. Not truly, not eternally, not divinely, because what is truly yours cannot be taken, cannot expire, cannot disappear into thin air. It can only be revealed, aligned, timed, and sometimes even delayed for your protection. And once you understand that, you begin to let go without guilt. You begin to release without resistance. And you begin to welcome the redirection with the eyes of wisdom, because it's not about what left, it's about what's making room to arrive. And that arrival may not look the way you imagined it, may not wear the name you expected, but it will feel right. It will feel peaceful. It will feel like you don't have to twist yourself into knots to keep it. And that's how you know it's divine. Because divine doors don't demand your exhaustion. They invite your expansion. And when you expand, you begin to see with spiritual sight. You begin to notice what others miss. You begin to hear the quiet promptings that say, this isn't your path anymore. This place has served its purpose. This version of you is ready for the upgrade. And yes, it will challenge your comfort. Yes, it will ask you to step into a version of yourself you haven't fully met yet. But that's what the divine detour is for. Not to trap you in confusion, but to call you into clarity. And that clarity cannot be rushed. It is revealed step by step, moment by moment, through the very journey you once tried to avoid. And you begin to look back and see the pattern, the precision, the sacred edits, the holy interruptions, the mercy in the delay. And suddenly you are no longer bitter about what didn't happen. Because you are grateful for what is unfolding now, even if it's slow, even if it's subtle, because now you understand that timing is a spiritual force, not a human invention, and spiritual timing always puts you in the right place at the right moment for the blessing that was made for you. Not borrowed, not forced, not copied, but yours, and when it shows up, it will not require manipulation, it will not ask you to hustle, it will simply mirror your alignment, because divine doors respond to divine energy. And when you are in that energy, the entire atmosphere around you shifts. People feel it, paths feel it, opportunities feel it, and they begin to rise to meet you. And now you're not just waiting for life to happen. You're co-creating with it. You're moving with spirit. You're allowing things to come to you instead of chasing them. Out of fear, they'll leave. Because you know what's meant for you will find you even if you're hidden. Even if you're healing, even if you're resting. And this is the great reversal, the sacred turn, where your value is no longer in what you produce, but in what you embody. And you embody peace, you embody trust. You embody the quiet power of someone who knows that the best things often arrive after the hardest detours. And now you are walking in that power. You are rooted in that energy. You are no longer shaken by rejection, no longer devastated by endings, no longer panicked by pauses. Because you've lived enough, loved enough, lost enough to know that nothing is random when it is filtered through spirit. And so you return to the loop again and again. The knowing, the resting, the realignment, the gratitude. And in that loop, the detour becomes your way home, your way forward, your way deeper into the truth that you are not here to chase the door. You are here to trust the design. And the design will carry you through breakdowns and breakthroughs, through silence and sudden shifts, through tearful prayers and triumphant arrivals. And each part of the journey is equally sacred, equally needed, equally infused with divine intelligence. And that intelligence doesn't waste time, doesn't forget your request, doesn't drop your destiny. It holds it, it watches over it, it prepares it, and when you're ready, it releases it. Not a second too soon and never a moment too late. And if you can live in that trust, you become untouchable by fear, unmoved by rejection, and unshaken by external change. Because now your compass is inward, your foundation is spiritual, and your peace is no longer up for negotiation. And with that peace comes a clarity so deep that even when you walk into the unknown, you do so with a smile, because the unknown is simply the unwrapped part of the miracle. And every step into it is a step toward what's already written, already waiting, already working, and now you wake up differently, speak differently, dream differently, because you know the door that closed did not end your story. It opened a new chapter, and the ink that writes it is faith, and the paper it's written on is trust. And the author is the infinite, the source, the spirit that knows you better than you know yourself, and has always been working behind the scenes, rearranging, removing, reordering, until your life begins to resemble the prayer you whispered in the dark. And suddenly, you're not angry anymore. You're awakened, exists complete. You're not grieving the loss. You're grateful for the lesson. You're not doubting the way. You're dancing with the detour. And you're not afraid of closed doors. You're excited to see which new ones open, because now you understand what they really mean. Part 6F. You may think you've missed your turn, but I assure you, you are exactly where you need to be for your miracle to find you. For in the great invisible architecture of your life, not a single detour is wasted, not a single delay is meaningless, and not a single door closes without another unlocking silently in the background of your becoming. And I have seen so many souls despair at the sight of a closing, their hearts collapsing with the weight of disappointment, and yet, if they only paused in faith, not fear, they would feel the shift in the air, the rearranging of circumstances, the whisper of something better calling them forward. And I tell you, what looks like the end is not the end. It is a redirection. And if you trust that your footsteps are guided, then you will begin to thank God in advance for the blessings that have not yet arrived. For gratitude before manifestation is the highest demonstration of trust, and what you think expands. So thank the detour, thank the no, thank the delay, thank the moment when you felt overlooked, because Spirit was not punishing you. Spirit was preparing you, refining you, rerouting you to the highest version of your destiny. And oh, how beautiful it is when you finally reach the moment where the closed door makes sense, where the no becomes a yin disguise, where the fall turns into a flight, where the thing you once cried over becomes the thing you're most grateful never worked out. And I implore you to hold on to that hope. Not blind hope, but bold faith, that even now, in this very moment, something is unfolding that your eyes cannot yet see. And your role is not to force, not to chase, but to align, to affirm, to speak life into the unseen and declaring, all that is mine by divine right is on its way, and nothing can block what is divinely mine. And speak it until the door swings open, until the detour reveals its destination, until the path before you is paved in clarity, because the law works whether you feel it or not, whether you see it or not, and your belief is the bridge between the invisible and the visible. So stay the course. Keep blessing the blocks, keep walking with trust, and know that your best life is not behind you. It is waiting just beyond the detour, and while you wait, bless the hallway, for the hallway is holy too. And so many miss their miracle because they curse the in-between. But let me assure you, it is in the waiting room of life that your spirit grows strong, your faith roots deep, and your clarity returns like the sunrise. And yes, you will be tempted to go back, to knock again on the closed door, to chase what already left. But I tell you now, forward is the only direction where destiny lives, and you are not behind, you are not forgotten, you are not lost. You are simply being delivered, in divine timing, to the place where your name has already been written, where your gifts will be received, where your light will no longer be dimmed. And you must trust the delays like you trust the blessings, for they are not different. They are partners in your preparation. And I say again, nothing is lost in the divine plan, and you are not being punished, you are being positioned. For what is yours will never pass you, and what passes you is never yours. And the door that would not open, thank it, name it your blessing, for it freed you from settling for less than what God had in store. So repeat with me now. I bless the detour, I honor the delay, I release the door that closed, and I walk boldly into the life that is waiting. And say it again and again, until it becomes your inner knowing, your daily rhythm, your sacred truth. For the door that opens next will not need to be forced. It will swing wide with ease. And when it does, you'll look back and say, thank God that one closed. It was never mine. And you'll smile, knowing the detour was never a mistake, but a miracle dressed in disguise, leading you to everything meant for your soul. So now I tell you, as one who has seen the laws work over and over again, if a door closes, do not grieve, rejoice. For the divine has intervened to rescue you from what you cannot yet see, and the mind may protest, it may scream and ache and mourn, but the soul knows. The soul always knows when it's being rerouted toward peace. And all the old stories of failure and being left behind must now be rewritten in the light of your spiritual knowing. For nothing can block what is truly yours. Nothing can stop what is divinely aligned. And what leaves your life was never meant to carry you to the next chapter. So do not follow the closed door with desperation, but instead with celebration, declare, I now release what no longer serves me and walk in full faith toward what is divinely mine. And understand this, my dear, the door that opens will not only fit you, it will feel like home to your spirit. It will not require begging or forcing or proving your worth. For what is meant for you recognizes you. And in this awareness you must live, because the divine detour is not a side street. It is the highway to your highest good, the fast track to your soul's design. and it does not come with warnings, it comes with wisdom, so you must learn to trust the stillness, to find God in the closed door, to sit in peace while the better path prepares itself behind the curtain of the unseen. And yes, there will be moments when nothing makes sense, when the world moves fast and your life feels paused. But remember, pause is not punishment, delay is not denial, and the redirection is not random. For you are being delivered to your destiny in divine time, and divine time is never rushed and never wrong. So hold your peace, speak your good. And when others ask how you remain so calm in the chaos, tell them, I followed the law. I trusted the detour. And they will marvel, for they will see how things turned in your favor, not because you forced them, but because you flowed with them. And in this flow, miracles find their way easily. Blessings come naturally, and joy returns freely, because you no longer fight against what ends. You rise with what begins, and that, beloved, is the secreting. The open door is always born from a closed one. The blessing is born from the block. The miracle is born from the moment you thought you lost everything. And so I invite you, right now, to look back with gratitude and ahead with faith, and bless every closed door in your story, because each one was the turning point toward your best life. And as you do, speak this truth aloud and let it become your spiritual command. Every detour is divine, every block is a blessing, every delay is design, and every step I take is leading me to the life I am meant to live. And when you say it not in fear, but in full belief, for the law moves on faith, and you are now aligned, equipped, empowered, and ready to walk into what has always been yours. Your purpose, your peace, your path. And when it finally arrives, remember, it was never late, never missing, never broken. It was waiting for you to believe enough to let the old door close so the new one could open wide, just for you. And as you embrace this new door, do not shrink, do not question whether you are worthy of what arrives. For the very fact that it has arrived means you are ready. And every moment spent in detour, every hour spent in waiting, was not wasted time but sacred time. Preparation, purification, and alignment. And you must walk through this door with courage, not confusion, with clarity, not doubt, because the law favors those who act in faith, not those who freeze in fear. And now you are stepping not only into a new chapter, but into a new consciousness. One that does not panic when something falls apart, one that does not cling when things shift, but one that trusts, that blesses, that allows the divine design to unfold without resistance. And I urge you to remember this truth as you go forwarding. The closed door did not reject you, it redirected you to the place where you belong, where your gifts will flourish, where your soul will breathe again. And so go boldly, knowing that everything you have walked through, every delay, every disappointment, every detour, has not delayed your destiny, but carved out the clearest, most graceful path for it to reach you. And as you walk, carry this with you. Gratitude is the magnet for more. Faith is the bridge between the invisible and the visible. And the spoken word is the key that unlocks the divine. So speak it now and forever. Nothing can block what is divinely mine. I welcome the open doors. And I bless the ones that closed, for they were never meant to hold my joy, my peace, or my future. They were only the turning point toward my true beginning.